right. Hope everyone had a nice weekend. Ready to get back to another earnings week of trading. We've got about 3 minutes until the close, so we'll get to see what the final numbers here on the Qs and SPY, and then we'll go over today's trades. All right, let's get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for August 9th, 2021. Qs basically flat on the day, up 0.17% there. SPY is down 44 cents, so basically flat on the day as well. And then IWM down 0.6 there. Okay. Coming into today, bullish on the Qs, bullish on the SPY. IWM still neutral, waiting to see if this is going to break out. So I am anticipating that it eventually will, but right now we're waiting to see. Okay. So now over 225.21, okay, would be kind of the breakout of this range. 20 MA is starting to slow down a little bit on this downtrend that's been in because it failed on the previous sell setup. Okay, so we're looking to see if IWM will also join Qs and SPY in being bullish. All right, going into tomorrow, today's really narrow bars don't really change anything. Okay, just like I said this morning when we did the open, I'm not expecting too much out of the Qs and SPY. IWM remains the question mark, but continuing to anticipate that it will resolve higher. Okay. All right, let's get into today's plays. Nice little change of pace today, a little bit of a breather for today. We had a mediocre, maybe even you could say poor gaps list, and then a lot less gaps in general and a lot less on the earnings list. Now, I think it'll pick back up a little bit this week, but like I said last week, I think we're past the peak of earnings season, so things I think will be a little bit more manageable at the open. The gap review process in the morning shouldn't take as long. But I think there'll still be things to do. So it's a kind of nice little sweet spot where sometimes, like last week, very, very tiring, fun. We had a lot of things to trade, but also a little bit tiring. I think this week will be kind of nice middle ground. All right. First play off the bat was the blue. This was my favorite gap. It just ended up being a little bit too big. In the pre-market, when I first looked at it, it was around 22.50. You see, it ended up opening $2 lower, but wanted to short this anyway. Did like the gap. One thing I liked about it is even though it was kind of down a lot, I like that it's been basing here before today's gap down there. You can see it on the monthly. Here it is on the weekly. So you can see some sideways action first, not just red bar after red bar after red bar, right? That was something that we had an issue with on the ATER, down, 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 and then gap down, at least that base for a bit. So blue was the favorite gap down, ANY was the favorite gap up. All right, so here was the blue. So blue did take 2 tries, okay? If you're with me at the open, then you know the first play was this tight consolidation here. A little bit aggressive, but I liked it enough to play with the tight stop, right? 1 minute, 20 MA had caught up, so the stop was right above this bar. You can see very, very tight stops. Sometimes with tight stops, you do get shaken out. So it did come up, take me out, and then I saw that it put an inside bar, anticipating that this is going to go back down, so I got back in it, okay? So I did have to take the second play. Second play, I think, got to 2 Rs around here. I accidentally left a target order here that actually took me out of the whole thing. I intended to hold it through the rest of the day. So that mistake actually worked out in my favor because it would have shaken me out here later. Now, the interesting thing about this shakeout, and this is something we've talked about previously, that when you get this bar that kind of pops, that goes the other way in a hurry, and then you get an inside bar like this, if the bar that got you out doesn't continue, you can actually get back in it, stop now, goes back above. It's not easy because if the play just failed, sometimes you don't want to be too much in a hurry to replay things. You got to make sure you're not playing it just to get revenge. But if it sets up this way, it's usually good to play. Okay, see how this set up actually the exact same way, and then there's how it closed. The exact same way it shook me out in the morning. You see? So here was what it did in the morning. After triggering me in, wide range bar, inside bar, down, 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 back to new lows. Okay, so just keep that in mind, especially if it's a, you know, like the blue was the favorite gap down. If it's something like this where I like the gap a lot, I'm pretty confident it's going to close at the lows. This is the kind of thing I'd be willing to replay. Now, if it's aggressive play to begin with, where I don't like the gap to begin with, you know, something like that, where then I'm less likely to redo. Okay, so when something like that happens, and it goes right back down, there's no follow through to the bar that got you out, and it's coming right back in, then you can get back in. Stop just goes above the top of the shakeout. Okay, so that was the blue. Second play was the A and Y. Didn't play it in the morning. It wasn't until we got this pullback here. So nice kind of like rounded bottom, 572 by 546. Okay, so nice start to the play here. So got most of it out, but then the runner didn't make much because you see it came all the way back down, trailed underneath the hourly, came all the way back down. So made some on the A and Y, just not that big of a play, not as big as I would have liked. The main issue with this is that we've already had the big gap up on Friday, so maybe should have lowered expectations and just taken the whole thing on the initial move up. But because Friday we did get some selling here, especially right off the bat here, and never fully recovered, I was anticipating that there might be, you know, some longs that got shaken out, want back in, some shorts that are now looking at this gap up and thinking I better get out. You know, some follow through to that because there's a little bit of shock value with Friday's gap initially getting sold. Okay, so I think the blue overall is a better gap, but did have to play that one twice. All right, couple other things. Nice call there from Sammy on the AXSM. Just played the breakdown in the morning and stayed with it till end of day. That was pretty nice. And then the VTRS here into the afternoon, able to clear some pivots, and then gave you numbers for this base breakout. Ended up letting this one go, just this base right here, because I'm not that familiar with this one, so wasn't sure how reliable it's going to be, but ended up being pretty good and closing there up at the top, I think around 2 hours there on that, not too bad. And the gap was solid, yeah. Gap is decent enough, clearing over a topping tail right into it and then clearing it on the intraday. All right, so a little bit of a smaller list today of play items, a little bit less to look at. I think you saw that from me, not only when we were going through the gaps this morning, but just throughout the day, just less setups overall, which is fine. Because I think it's nice to get a little bit of a break. Last week was busy, and then I think the rest of this week should be decently busy as well. So just a nice kind of day to get back into the swing of things, and then prepare for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to be busy again. Okay, at least that's what I hope. Okay, all right, hope you had a good start to the week. We still have plenty of trading left this week, so I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good evening.